Is this morbid to ask? What does it feel like when your Achilles gets snapped? Is that morbid?
No.
I mean, I'm just kind of curious.
Well, because of the way he hopped off the field, I mean,
yeah.
It's like I thought he twisted his ankle or something like that. You know?
Right. You know, and you see that, you do see that. I think when Mo Ibrahim snapped his, I think he walked off the field as well. It's just the nature of that injury. You know?
Yeah. Gonna loop one right. Caught! Touchdown! Jordan Addison with his 7th National Football League touchdown. That gives Minnesota a 23-3 lead. And for Jordan, that touchdown means he has the most in the history of the Minnesota Vikings through the first 8 games. 23-3 Vikings.
And that pass came from the talented arm of Kirk Cousins. Buffalo Wild Wings, Coon Rapids. On the phone line right now, can I get a witness and a round of applause for Kirk Cousins, ladies and gentlemen, joining 9 to noon. Very nice to do that, too, man. Packed house.
Hey, PA, good to be on.
Packed house, 11 on 8, man. And I could hear you may deny it because you're one of the more humble people I've met, specifically in athletics. I could hear the smile on the face when you heard the round of applause. I mean, it's not 60-some-odd thousand at Road Stadium or U.S. Bank Stadium, but it's never bad to hear cheers like that, right, Kirk?
Never bad. It has meant a lot to me and my family that people have reached out the way they have and provided so much support and prayers. Never quite realized how many people were in our corner until I got injured and started hearing from all of them. So it's meant a great deal.
Come join us at one of these Friday football feasts. I know you're going to be doing some work with the team, but we do this every Friday. We have for 15 years at the Buffalo Wild Wings, and we got a bunch coming up closer to the facility. I don't know, man, spend 20, 30 minutes. Bring your wife, bring the kids for the wings and everything. What do you think? What do you think, Kirk?
I think it'd be a great time. You let me know where you're going to be, and I'll try to make it.
Hey, Cousin said he might come to a feast. How about that? Hey. Paul Charchian's the co-host, and here he is, Paulie.
Great to talk to you, Kirk. Just give us a sense emotionally. How are you doing? You've not had to deal with, you've been battered a lot, but you haven't had an injury like this before in your career. Emotionally, how are you feeling right now? What's going through your mind right now?
Yeah, no, thanks for asking. It's certainly new, like you said. So I'm kind of first time through this, learning how things work, but it is certainly a part of playing the sport and what you sign up for when you go out there and step between the white lines. You know that's the risk you take. And, it's been a pretty positive process so far from Dr. Coetzee doing the surgery, did a phenomenal job. That went very well. Our team here at the Vikings facility knows how to rehab this injury, and so it's clockwork when I come in every day as to the routine and how we do it. So it's been a positive process, and got to learn to be patient and have a different perspective on things, seeing everything from a different angle. But, one day at a time, I guess, is the phrase I've been using a lot.
Hey, Kirk, when can you put pressure on the Achilles and foot? And, how does one rehab an Achilles?
Well, that's a big question, and I'm still learning. But I have a walking boot, so I walk laps around the training room today in a walking boot with a heel lift. So I'm putting weight on it and walking, but it's certainly a little bit manufactured with the walking boot and the heel lift. So, we kind of let pain be our guide and the range of motion and do what they're telling me to do because they know our trainers know what it should be. But I think we're, moving out pretty well from surgery now, 2 weeks out, and it's been a positive process so far.
All right, so Kirk, you're inside TCO. You're doing your own rehab, but are you also spending time in the quarterback room? Are you helping, looking at film? Are you able to help Josh Dobbs, or right now are you most of your time focused just on your own recovery?
That's a good question. It's a question I asked myself coming out of the injury was, okay, what does my life look like? What's the most, efficient, strategic way to handle my time? And after thinking through it and a little trial and error, I feel like it's important for me to certainly prioritize the rehab, but I feel like I can still do that and be at the quarterback meeting in the morning. So at the 8 a.m. quarterback meeting, which is a little over an hour, I can still be a part of that, digest the plan each week, stay involved. If something were to come up on occasion where I can offer some insight, I may be able to do that. But it just gives me a chance to kind of stay connected to football and to the strategy and to the team, and then head down to the training room after that meeting and begin my rehab. And I found there's enough hours in the day to kind of do both. But certainly, when everybody goes out to practice and they go out to walk through and different team meetings and things, I'm stuck in the training room doing rehab. So I do plug into that quarterback meeting, but have to spend the rest of the time, focusing on the Achilles.
Well, Kirk, in the quarterbacks meeting with Josh Dobbs, do you show him the Arizona run where you turn the corner like Mike Vick and scored? And now you're kind of like, see, Josh, I'm a runner too, man.
Yeah, right. No, if anything, I'm trying to learn from him on how he does it. He's done a great job with it, playing at a high level. And I think his balance, because it's one thing to be a runner, but it's usually only as good as your ability to still be a passer. And so I think he's found a really good balance, these 2 weeks in terms of how he's been able to do both at a really high level and some really critical downs. So it's been good for me to learn from.
What do you can you help us give a sense of what Josh Dobbs is going through trying to pick up an offense in a matter of now 2.5 weeks? I mean, give us a sense of the challenge involved and what this is like for Josh.
Well, I'd say it's extremely difficult, but he's making it look pretty manageable.
Yeah.
There's a lot being thrown at him, and he's just handled it like a champ. He's got a great way about him where he's not going to get overwhelmed. He's got a high capacity, and he's shown that. So I would think each week will start to get a little more manageable now that he's getting to know people and getting to know the system, and the plays and the terms start to get more familiar. But I would think still, until the end of the season, there's still a lot that you have to be handling brand new. So he's handled it as well as he possibly could, and really has allowed the offense and the coaches to not skip a beat and to just kind of keep moving forward. And he kind of just moves at their pace, which is a testament to him.
Minnesota Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins on the 9 to noon show. We are at Buffalo Wild Wings, Coon Rapids. And Kirk, going from the weekly grind, preparing for games, and the nuance and the stimulation that goes into that to out for the season, how has that transition gone? I mean, that seriously is a 10, not to a 0, but it's down from a 10. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. It's a difficult transition that a lot of players have to go through at some point in their career, and I think there's silver linings to it. I think it'll give me a more mature perspective and a fresher perspective when I do come back. And I still have found I stay really busy. I almost wish it was just a bunch of rest where I could kind of just kick my feet up and chill. But I am pretty busy with different rehab and body work to do all I can to stay active. So. It's not being out on the practice field that hurts, not being at the games, having to watch on TV. I think that's the part that's hard and weighs on you. But it's still fun to be in the building, go to the meeting, be around the guys, still engage with them. That part has been fun to be a part of.
And I don't like to speak for people, man, but I'm going to say that this, what I'm about to say. There are lessons to be shared when robbed of what you love. And that's playing quarterback and leading men. There are lessons and there's an inspirational side of this for those witnessing what's happening that maybe you or we can't see right now. Would you agree?
Certainly. I think someday we'll look back and I'll point to, as I was talking with our team psychologist the other day, he said, I think someday you'll have success and you'll say, I had that success because of this injury, not in spite of this injury, because many times difficulty forces us to get better and to mature in a way that actually enables us to go to new heights. So I'm believing that to be true. It's still difficult as you go through it. And I'm not 5 years down the road where I can look back and say, oh, I see all the things lining up neatly in my life. So you kind of live with that unknown. But I do believe someday I'll look back and say, I'm at a better place because of the injury, not in spite of the injury.
And Kirk, when you say that, you're a man of many interests. As we've gotten to know you, you've had a long, profitable career. It sounds like you fully intend to continue playing football, that there's no scenario here where you just say, you know what, I've already had a long career, made a lot of money, I could put my efforts elsewhere. Is there a 100% chance that you're playing football next year?
Well, I would like to say yes. I just have learned that in this league, you're fooled to think that you're going to say, oh, this is going to happen or I'm going to do this. I mean, an Achilles injury will teach you that more than anything. So in my 12 years, I've learned it's hard to predict what next week is bringing, let alone next year. But, yes, at this stage with the limited perspective I have, my intention would be to be playing next year, and I look forward to that. And it's a big part of my motivation in the rehab is to envision being back out on the practice field as soon as the spring potentially, and what could be up ahead on the football field.
Kirk, from Lambeau and you hopping off the field and changing everything, and then Jaron Hall comes in, then he starts the Atlanta game, and now Josh Dobbs and Mullins is back, from his back situation. So through all of that, Kevin O'Connell and the offensive staff's work during turmoil, tumult, topsy-turvy stuff. It terrific leadership, don't you think?
Absolutely. I think that's a big part of the reason we've won 5 in a row, in addition to playing Creed music, is, our coaching staff and their ability to, work through adversity, make sudden changes when need be, find the right players to bring onto the roster. The Atlanta game, I think, will go down for a long time with those coaches as just a unique amount of adversity, trying to handle, plays that Josh has never run and trying to communicate what needs to be done and what it took to get that done. I think people on the outside, they understand it's difficult, but they'll never know just how difficult. So there's no doubt that, the last several weeks have shown the talent, if you will, on the coaching staff.
Kirk, were you playing at the highest level of your career at the moment of your injury?
No, I wouldn't say that. I think that I've been pretty consistent. For me, I think you look back at my tape going back probably to 2015. I've been a pretty consistent player as to how I play the game and what I do. But I think that within this season, I think we certainly felt like we were finding a good rhythm. Felt like in that second half in Lambeau that things were really clicking, and we had kind of found a consistent way of playing that was working. And I think that was the hard part was to kind of, after starting 0-3, to have found something and then not be a part of it moving forward is difficult. But, it's nice to know that the team is moving forward and having great success, and it's a great spirit in the building right now.
Are you in any way watching film of the adversary, like Atlanta or New Orleans and now Denver? You watching the opponent?
Yeah, I'm trying to still stay in it mentally and be around it. I don't want to, disengage and then plug back in come next spring and feel like I'm not caught up to speed on the league or on our system or on, what's going on. So I think it's helpful to stay dialed in as long as there's pro football being played.
Well, this Patrick Surtain II, it's his third year, and you saw him very early in his career at those joint practices a few years ago where you could tell immediately he looked tough. Just from what you know about Surtain, what do you think of him?
Yeah, like you said, practicing against him, he was a young player, and then preseason game last year as well. Got familiar with those guys, so he's the real deal. I mean, corners are hard to come by, the really good ones. And he seems to be a very smart player, instinctive, and then he also has some good size. And so whenever you get a guy who can cover really well and be smart and instinctive, but also can match up size-wise to some of the bigger receivers in the league, I think that's when you start to feel like you have the total package. So he's a great corner. They got several great players, and they've had a good defense there for a while now. And, it'll be a good challenge for us.
Hey, time for 2 more.
Final one for me, Kirk. You suffer the injury. At what point did you find out what the injury was and the ramifications of that? And in that moment, what's going through your mind when you find out your season is over?
Well, it's kind of funny coming off the field because I always thought an Achilles tear, you'd feel it right in your Achilles, and I kind of felt it on the outside of my Achilles on both sides. And so I assumed I didn't hurt my Achilles, although the way my foot felt, I couldn't really press into the ground. So I knew it was more serious than just a sprained ankle, and I couldn't quite make sense of what it was. But it was funny because I kept saying, I don't think it's my Achilles because I don't feel pain in my Achilles. But I kept then giving other things I am feeling, which are like tailor-made for an Achilles tear, where I said, I can't press my foot in the ground. I can't really put weight on it. It feels like I have nothing there. And everything I was telling Dr. Coetzee and our training staff, they were pretty much thinking to themselves, well, that's, day one Achilles tear. But then we went in the blue tent, and Dr. Coetzee, I think, looked at it, touched it for about a half a second. And he said, yeah, you tore your Achilles. He said, just take a second, and we'll come get the cart and head into the locker room. So I just kind of laid back and took a deep breath, and a lot of thoughts go through your mind, and then hopped on the cart. And I did not want to leave Lambeau Field with a loss. So I just wanted to kind of make sure that as I was leaving the scene that they were going to finish the job, and was trying to, say that message to a few guys, hey, make sure we come out of here with a win, and then, headed inside and kind of has been taking it one day at a time, one moment at a time ever since.
Well, in knowing that you have enough going on today to not necessarily worry about tomorrow, I'm going to close with this question. I mean, is it still the same for you that you hope to finish your career in Minnesota?
Yeah, it's always been that way since I got here. I always wanted to be a one-team quarterback, and when that didn't happen in Washington, then I said, well, I'd like to be a two-team quarterback, and quite honestly have enough success in Minnesota that people, only remember me as a Viking. So that would certainly be my desire, but I've also learned in this league you don't always get what you want. So, we'll see what happens, and I understand there are a lot of options, but yes, my desire would be to be a Viking, retire a Viking, and finish my career here.
Well, per the Creed vibe that you started and a lot of people love, we at Buffalo Wild Wings and the Friday Football Feast, wherever we are here with arms wide open if you would ever like to join us. Thank you, Kirk.
Thanks, Kirk.
Thanks, BA. Great joining you guys.
You too, man. I appreciate you. Kirk Cousins, quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. Nice job, Charge.
Yeah, you too. That was great. I as far as I know, this is the first extended conversation Kirk has had since the injury.
Yeah, and that was an elongated conversation. He's going to do a press conference coming up here soon for the collected media, the assembled media. I don't know about you, man, but there were a couple in there early where I could kind of hear his voice crack a little, and he's like, you asked a question, and he's like, well, I mean, very difficult not being at practice or not being at, and you could just kind of hear it in his voice a little bit, man, sadness,
He cares.
Yeah.
Kirk cares. He wants to be on the field. He wants to help win, and when you can't do that, I think it's hard for him.
6 in a row for Kirk O. 6 in a row for Kirk O. 6 in a row for Kirk O. Thank you for the street team and employee of the week, Nick Madden, my main man. J-Dub, Jared Wells, the master mixer, Paul Charchi, and I'm Paul Allen. Thank you for coming out today. Thank you for listening. God bless everybody. Talk to y'all soon.